Is Jussi Halla-aho from the ECR group.
Thank you, Chairman. The ECR recognizes the need to harmonize further European asylum procedures, including the principles on which international protection is granted to third country nationals. Therefore, we generally support the Commission proposal for a qualification regulation. If we want to end secondary movement, it is crucially important that the outcome of an individual asylum process does not depend on the member state where protection is applied for. However, it is also important that the harmonized standards are such that the asylum system does not encourage economic migration. Economic in the sense that people are driven by poverty, lack of opportunities, and other such factors rather than persecution. The asylum systems were created to help victims of persecution, not to facilitate massive migration from one continent to another. In this respect, our approach differs from that of the rapporteur, as well as the Liberals, the Left and the Greens. If we allow the asylum system to be abused as a channel of economic migration, we will have more immigration that Europe cannot afford economically or socially. In our view, international protection should be temporary in nature. That is, people should be expected to go back when the need for protection no longer exists. Of course, a person who came as a refugee should be able to apply for some other type of residence permit if he or she has successfully integrated into the society. But international protection should not be an automatic pathway to permanent residency and eventually citizenship, especially if the person concerned shows no signs of integration, as unfortunately is very often the case. We have tabled a relatively large number of amendments that reflect this basic political position. We hope the colleagues will consider supporting them. For instance, international protection should be granted for 1 year at a time. The need for protection should be effectively assessed every time the residence permit is renewed. We understand this is an administrative burden, but so is the presence of unintegrated migrants who do not have a valid reason to stay in the European Union. We believe immigration should be a deal between the migrant and the host society. A beneficiary of international protection should have rights, but they should also have strict and reasonable obligations. For example, access to social assistance should be made conditional on participation and successful conclusion of integration measures, such as language learning. There should be mandatory punitive measures against persons who are found without authorization in a member state other than the one that granted protection. A third country national should be excluded from being a refugee if they have committed serious crimes against sexual self-determination, such as rape or sexual abuse of minors, or participated in planning of incitement or contribution to or execution of terrorist acts. Giving protection to victims of persecution is a European value, but being naive about immigration is not a value. Being blind to the economic and social consequences of immigration is not a value either, it is just irresponsible. Thank you very much.
And I would like to add one personal remark, so not on behalf of Mrs. Mlinar, and just responding to the remarks by Mr. Halla-aho. If you want people to integrate, first of all, if you cannot give them any lasting perspective, then why would they integrate? There is a contradiction there. And secondly, the remarks that you made are very suggestive. You know, saying asylum seekers, refugees who, for example, are guilty of rape or child abuse or other crimes, yes, they should be punished. But that goes for everybody. And the suggestion here that they should be punished more or that they are engaging in criminal activities more is a very offensive one. It's not based on anything. And if they, you know, I know lots of people who hold views that I do not share, including views about women, for example. So integration is one thing, assimilation is quite something else, and then I would also like to know by what standards. So everybody should be treated equally. That means equal obligations and equal rights.